Welcome to this session about the launch of INTCAS in the United States. I am Cheryl Darrett-Boychuk of INTCAS, which stands for Intelligent Communities Around Students. I've been working in the international education field for about 20 years, mostly for usjournal.com, a family of multilingual sites dedicated to recruiting students to the States. In my professional volunteer capacity, I'm involved with NAFSA, the Association of International Educators, as well as the Groningen Declaration, which aims to define the future of digital student data portability. So I think we can all agree that this year promises to be an interesting one regarding international student recruitment. Some colleagues are even suggesting that it feels a little darker. To me, that means the atmosphere is charged and ready for some fresh, forward-thinking models, because maybe the only certainty is that we'll need to work harder and smarter to advance global student mobility. But innovation can be a funny thing. Trouble is, new approaches are not the same as the old ones. In order to advance in any substantial way, we need to think differently. Assess what's happening in the environment, and use those factors that some would view as negative and turn them into positives. INTCAS is not just another lead generation service for international student recruitment. We eagerly challenge conventional wisdom. We've spent the past 6 years building intelligent digital communities by plucking the most robust technologies from different industries like LinkedIn, Amazon, Google. We've done the research and tap into decades of experience across our team to support our forward-thinking platform that really considers the entire journey of an educational experience over time. We provide a seriously sophisticated ecosystem which is proactive, practical, and cost-effective. Our intelligent infrastructure has positioned us extremely well to react promptly to market changes. The bottom line, we help education institutions attract, recruit, and manage international students from around the world in a safe, compliant, and cost-effective way. One of the things we recognized early in our development was the importance of a long-term, far-reaching vision. Here's an overview of our various components, which can get quite complex when considering the entire ecosystem. For the U.S. launch, we'll focus on just a few of these components that directly improve the efficiency and integrity of the admissions process, unlike anyone else in the industry. In terms of natural flow, let's begin with the Exploration Cloud, where education institutions can showcase their strengths. The Application Cloud is an intelligent system to boost operational efficiencies from the student's perspective. The Admission Cloud considers the perspective of the education institution, where all correspondence and documents can exist in one place. The Interview Cloud helps the education institution to gauge the academic readiness of the applicant. The Verification Cloud enables the applicant to prove financial capacity digitally. The Due Diligence Cloud helps the institution to get to know the applicant better. The Escrow Cloud can mitigate financial risks for all stakeholders, including the student. We'll also share some details about our Centers of Excellence, which provide immigration support, market support, and technology support. We feature a global Center of Excellence in the United Kingdom and hundreds of regional centers around the world. INTCAS is a very intelligent, student-centric platform. So that begs the question, how would a qualified international student find your institution within INTCAS? The fact is, we use many different channels through our Exploration Cloud. Obviously, we pay attention to global trends. The rising middle class, especially in the Asia-Pacific region, is undeniable. So that's our focus for initial source markets. Specifically, we're working with wealth managers who encourage families to explore educational opportunities for their children through our ecosystem. Another complementary way INTCAS targets qualified international students is through their preceding academic environment. Boarding school students of all different nationalities and backgrounds are well prepared to advance in their educational journey through INTCAS. So our affiliated wealth managers and guidance counselors highly recommend that students pursue their study abroad experience through INTCAS. There's no charge for the student to join. My teenage son recently registered and set up his profile, which is very academically oriented rather than socially oriented. Of course, there are social elements of INTCAS. William can follow the international admissions counselors at the institutions that he's interested in. He can also connect with his parent in this platform that primarily addresses his academic pursuits. He can upload his education qualifications as well as any corresponding documents, all in a secure, robust environment. There's also an opportunity to upload work experience, which is not extensive as a 15-year-old, but the point is that he's building a profile that will last a lifetime. Now here's how the student can find your education institution as he explores his academic options. William would like to study business full-time with tuition around £16,000 or $20,000 US. He can compare different courses side by side and organize his college search process all in one place. Of course, he can click in to get more details and ultimately follow any institutions he'd like. Let's say William is particularly interested in the accountancy program at St. Peter's and John University in Oxfordshire. So he adds that to his application basket, as well as any other applications to institutions that interest him, whether they're in the UK, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, China, wherever. With INTCAS, the student can manage all of those applications in one place. So let's shift from the student's perspective within the application cloud to the university's perspective within the admission cloud, where of course all of that data is fed according to the student's preferences. So when the admissions counselor signs in from St. Peter's and John University in this case, you can manage those applications from students within the INTCAS ecosystem. We see the new one there that William just completed. You can track the progress of the applications all the way from initial interest to admission, invoicing, immigration, pre-departure, and enrollment. The student can grant permission for you to view the results of any additional services he or she took advantage of during the application process. One of the most popular choices is our immigration support. Our qualified legal professionals around the world can help education institutions, students, and families navigate through the complexity of the visa process through a range of services from pre-visa guidance to post-visa management. One of the primary goals of INTCAS services is to maximize the rate of visa approvals. One way to accomplish that is through our interview cloud. Of course, you can coordinate interviews through INTCAS for different purposes, such as to prepare for the visa appointment or to gauge the applicant's English proficiency or academic readiness. Institutions are invited to use INTCAS's question bank, which can generate questions based on the applicant's country of origin or the academic course he selected or other criteria. The interviews are archived for future reference and may be shared with academic departments on campus or elsewhere. Ultimately, INTCAS's interview cloud can be a really effective tool for boosting bona fide applicants' confidence and credibility. Now, in addition to academic credibility, the applicant must also be financially credible. The verification cloud is designed for applicants in relatively low-risk jurisdictions. They can verify their financial capacity by pointing their online banking data to the host educational institution rather than through scanned bank statements, which can be easily manipulated. INTCAS features a very simple interface. The student or sponsor finds his or her bank from our list of about 4,500 financial institutions around the world. If their bank is not included in our network, then the process reverts back to the institution's traditional method for verifying funds. The user will be presented with an interface that parallels what they see when logging into their bank's own online portal. For HSBC Malaysia, for example, they'll see these input fields just as they would find when logging into their own account at hsbc.com.my. Now, we chose this interface in part to facilitate the fight against fraud. We address this with identity authentication. INTCAS employs the most robust security and privacy methods used by the world's leading banks, informed by Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering guidelines. We tap into a secure network used by more than 50 million consumers around the world, and the user is always in charge of restricting access to their data at any time. Now, if any user within the INTCAS ecosystem were to try to access that same bank account twice, the system would alert INTCAS, the student or sponsor, as well as the host institution. This screenshot shows the second time a user tried to access that same Bank of America account. So this functionality to detect duplicate access has been extremely helpful. There may be a legitimate reason for duplicate access, such as one parent sponsoring 2 children, so we don't automatically disable any profiles. We simply alert the appropriate individual stakeholders and provide a comment section for the student to explain any irregularities. The digital verification of account balances takes about 3 minutes per individual bank account to complete. So for each account listed and pinged, we show all transactions over the course of the past 30 to 90 days, depending on the individual bank's policies. So back on the student's dashboard, all account balances are displayed with the totals in both the home country currency, in this case the US, as well as the host country currency, in this case the United Kingdom. The grand total appears there in British pounds in the lower left corner, again as the host country currency. So this really addresses our third pillar in our verification cloud. Multiple balance verifications enable qualified students and their parents or sponsors to substantiate their financial capacity over time. INTCAS keeps a historical record each time a student submits their completed profile to their authorized host institution. So the admissions counselor can pretty easily see if there's a steady stream of income or if the proverbial red flags pop up for one reason or another. INTCAS generates a verification certificate for the institutions. All of our services are cloud-based, so you'll be able to access these certificates as well as any data from within the student interface, such as transaction history. Moving on to our Due Diligence Cloud. This is another effective tool for improving the efficiency and integrity of the process, ultimately maximizing the rate of visa approvals. With the student's or sponsor's permission, INTCAS can scan about 9 billion source records, which include publicly accessible sanction lists, politically exposed persons lists, and social media platforms. We use a simple traffic signal system for the results. The vast majority result in green recommendation to proceed. Ultimately, though, the decision about whether or not to offer that applicant admission lies with the institution itself. Now, I can almost hear the mumblings out there. Digital due diligence is creepy. I agree completely. But admit it. You can understand the rationale behind that kind of initiative. As a parent or student, I would be prepared to authorize an online background check. Bona fide students would have nothing to hide. That due diligence cloud often works in conjunction with the escrow cloud, particularly in higher risk jurisdictions. INTCAS plugs into the global banking infrastructure coordinated with leading financial institutions around the world. Here's how it works. INTCAS creates an escrow account for each student who resides in mid to high risk jurisdictions. The objective is to secure 100% of the first year tuition and living expenses from students and their sponsors. INTCAS updates the appropriate host educational institution that proof of funding has been satisfied, triggering the release of appropriate paperwork. INTCAS issues a bank statement which can be used by the student to support their visa application. Once the student physically enrolls at the institution, INTCAS disperses funds to the institution. Living expenses may also be dispersed according to a predefined timeline. Now, initial reactions may sound something like, "That won't work. We really can't afford to place any more barriers to entry in front of applicants." Actually, in some countries like China, escrow accounts are gaining significant momentum as parents are eager to elevate their son or daughter's visa application. Escrow protects students as well who are insured by INTCAS's fee protection policy, which assures students, families, and sponsors that their investment is secured in case the educational institution stumbles financially. And escrow accounts not only minimize the financial risk of education institutions, but it also streamlines the visa decision-making process. So why would you trust INTCAS? INTCAS is an appointed representative of Bryce Amory Capital, who is regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. That's the government institution which oversees all affairs across the financial services sector. INTCAS complies with the International Standards Organization, which means we abide by global standards to keep information assets secure. In terms of next steps, think about your international enrollment management goals, whether you want to use just a few of our products and services to boost operational efficiency, or you might rather use INTCAS as more of a marketing tool via our Exploration Cloud. Contact me to discuss pricing for our initial launch, as we'll offer many of those services on a pay-as-you-use basis. And some campuses are choosing to volley the cost of some services back to the student. So ultimately, you'll see that the INTCAS model facilitates a very reasonable cost per student acquisition. And of course, I'll encourage you to approach this recruitment cycle with an open mind. Prudent to work smarter to recruit bona fide international students. Do reach out to me with any questions. Our deadlines are rolling, but we look forward to working with you sooner rather than later so we can assist you in time for this upcoming enrollment cycle. We'll participate in a number of in-person events throughout the year where we can demo our ecosystem live. Thanks again for joining us, and I hope to hear from you soon.